Okay, I'm Chuck Liddell. This is Jim Watson.
Oh.
And today is the third. What's the date today?
14.
14th.
14th of March, 2023, and this is the third of a hopefully a long series of lectures that we're doing here at the library. And what we start off by doing is taking a topic. And the topic we're going to be doing today is World War II. Jim is especially needed here because he did a movie of footage, actually, that he located of World War II here on Catalina. And he has a wonderful video that I'm in that he talks about it. So we're just going to be talking about all the ramifications of World War II and obviously take any questions we might have.
And I'd point out that it's not just my film, that Chuck was actually the executive producer and helped out financially and information-wise, and got some amazing interviews, including interviews with Bill White,
who writes the books, by the way.
And in the second part of the film, which doesn't involve World War II, it's post-war, but we had Tony Dow in it, and Bruce Belland, the gentleman from the four preps that wrote the song 26 Miles Across the Sea. So Chuck is to blame for a lot of it, too.
And Gregory Harrison.
Gregory Harrison did the narration, yes, for the film, for the documentary.
So I'm going to kind of go back. You know Lolo's story, so maybe you want to tell, well, this is what Lolo told me, so I think it's kind of interesting. I was getting a haircut at Lolo's, and I told him I wanted to do a story about World War II. I was working with Jim. And so he said, I was here during World War II, and he was a caddy up at the golf course. And he said, a very interesting thing occurred. Do you remember what year this was before the war?
It was July of 1941. It was just a few months before Pearl Harbor, and that's crucial to this story.
Right. So he said he had some Japanese businessmen dressed up in suits, completely inappropriate for playing golf. But he was, he had no reason to believe anything otherwise. But he said most of the time they were asking questions about where the power plant was, where our water source. In other words, they were doing some very interesting reconnoitering. So at the time of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, automatically Lolo realized that this was their attempt to get involved. Now, I know that Jim has some interesting stories about us knowing that they were planning to come to Catalina, because didn't they get to some of the other islands and said, are we on Catalina?
No, you're thinking of this Guadalcanal story, where the Japanese invaders thought that they were invading Catalina Island.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
But that's not really one of the islands around here. It's not like the other Channel Islands.
No, but my point is, we knew they were looking for Catalina, that they had a Catalina connection. So when they were there, the Guadalcanal, they said, am I on Catalina?
Yeah.
In other words, they were looking for Catalina. So anyway, so that's Lolo's story, kind of going back. And so,
well, one of the most interesting things about that story, I think, and this is from Lolo, was that these gentlemen that they were caddying for, like you said, they're dressed in black suits and ties, and this is July, it's roasting out there. But he said these guys not only knew nothing about how to play golf, they didn't even care about playing golf. They were talking and pointing, and they were taking pictures of the hillsides all around the canyon and speaking to each other. And Lolo said, neither me or Conrad, his buddy, we didn't speak Japanese, so we didn't know what they were saying. And every now and then they would kind of knock the ball into the hole, and they'd move on to the next hole and back to taking pictures. And so then it was a few months later that Pearl Harbor was attacked.
but they were asking questions. He said they did want to, which would be normal questions, except, why, they didn't look like they were golfers. They weren't dressed to be golfers, but now they're asking. So suddenly when the war started, now suddenly Lolo was right on top of it.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be interesting I have a whole list of things that came out of World War II that I think would be interesting to talk about what we did here on Catalina initially. So do you want to talk about the OSS base?
Well, we had 4 different branches of the military here during World War II. We had the U.S. Army Signal Corps out at Camp Cactus. We had the Merchant Marines here in Avalon, and we had the Coast Guard at Two Harbors. And the 4th branch of military was the very secretive OSS, which stands for Office of Strategic Services. And what they were the precursor to the CIA. In fact, it was only about 2 years after the war ended that they became the CIA. So they were the special forces up at, it's kind of ironic, I've always thought that the one branch of the military we didn't have out here was the Navy. So what the OSS did is they were like the special forces. They were the spies in World War II.